welcome to you all. Great to have our third WIT event already of 2024. This year is waiting for nobody, that is for sure. So yeah, hopefully, I'm sure quite a few more people will be joining in. But yeah, very big welcome to everyone. Quite a few new names on the invite, which is awesome. Great to meet and to see new people joining us. And to those WIT members who are doing the evangelism for me, thank you very much for sharing the info and sharing the invite across your companies. It's great to have more and more people join us every month, every time. So we're just going to let a few more people get in and then we're going to get going. I am apologizing up front. I completely forgot to update the welcome deck for today. Mostly, and I can blame my three speakers, but after our conversation yesterday when we aligned, I was so excited and I got so busy with all my questions that I didn't actually think about the welcome deck. So I shall just welcome you like this. Okay, so as you can hear, lots of people jumping onto the call. We're going to get going shortly, but a very big welcome to everybody. For those of you that are joining WIT for the first time, I hope that you found it valuable. And yeah, today's session is going to be a little bit different to our normal sessions. We've got quite a few opportunities for engaging everybody on the call and just getting some conversations going and sharing thoughts and ideas and worries, some nerves. I'm sure there are a few of us out there that are a little bit nervous about all of this going on. So yeah, very, very exciting. So for those of you that are joining WIT for the first time, my name is Lauren Clark. We've had WIT going on now since July 2016. So it's been going for a long time, and we've been just really event on events, just adding more ladies to our numbers. Our mailing list is close on 300 now, which is just really fantastic. And the whole point of the WIT network is the woman in technology is a massive component of it. And a very big part of this is knowledge sharing. So we've prioritized in the South Africa chapter, we have prioritized knowledge sharing and just really giving insights into this really broad world of technology, you know. In the olden days, when you said you worked in technology, that specifically meant you worked in technology and did tech things like development. And now, when you say you work in technology, it can mean you are an HR practitioner working in an IT company, you're a lawyer, you're in finance, you do coding, you're a business analyst. There's this wide, tremendous variety of careers and opportunities. And that's what really makes this industry so exciting. And it certainly makes it a fabulous career opportunity for women. And so a big component of the WIT network in South Africa is also partnering with organizations like Girl Code and Techno Girl, where we just really, within our own organizations, find opportunities to get young girls who are completing learnerships or completing their studies in technology-related subjects into the workplace by providing work experience and learnership opportunities and funding and that type of thing. And then all the way through, there's a lot of tremendous experience and leadership expertise amongst our numbers here. There are a number of you who have had well-versed careers, and some of you have changed career directions. And it's just really, that's what the whole point of the WIT network is to really just find a space to share information and to learn, and to reach out. As you get to know people, please reach out and connect. That's what the chat is there for. It's really great to see people connecting, employment opportunities, career opportunities, partnerships, and that type of thing. So a very big welcome to everybody. Those of you who've been part of WIT will know this is our third event for 2024. It's our second virtual event for the year, and our theme this year has centered around Gen AI. And absolutely, it's a big buzzword, and it's, you know, it's the flavor of the month. But if you think about March last year, when ChatGPT kind of went public, that was actually only 15 months ago, 18, not even 18 months ago. And the impact that it's had and the significance that it has had on careers, on organizations, on strategy, on decision-making has been immense. And so this year, the different speakers that we've had and the illumination they've provided on how they are utilizing Gen AI, whether it's in their personal capacity or in their companies, or how they're using it to develop their careers, has been really, really insightful. And so I'm really excited today just to welcome our three speakers. So they have their cameras on, such good speakers. We've got just a different perspective on Gen AI today. And I've asked these three ladies specifically to share their kind of views today, because it's just something that is really an engaging topic. And so it might come as no surprise that we're going to be starting with probably one of our longest WIT members, or I would never say oldest WIT members, because you're only 2 weeks older than me, Van, so I can't say that. But, you know, Vanessa has been a part of the WIT environment and the WIT chamber since we started, you know, eight years ago. And as many of you know, Van is an expert in the talent talent component of the employment relationship, but just the entire aspect of it, you know, from sourcing all the way through to just the type of talent organizations are attracting. And so her perspective on Gen AI and the relationship between Gen AI and talent and organizations is just really going to be tremendously insightful. And she will, of course, get us going today. After Van, we've got Carike. Carike is also a very long time WIT member, and Carike has been working at a very well-known insurance organization for a couple of years now. And there's a massive component of Gen AI and your own career development, and just where do I go and how do I get going with this? And Carike is going to take us on that journey. And then last but definitely not least, we've got our legal eagle. And Anke, who is the in-house counsel for Mint Group, is going to just be giving a perspective that possibly few of you on this in this group and on this call today perhaps consider, and that's the legal implications and the consequences of AI. And once the three of them have finished today, we actually have a couple of panel questions that we will put to the three of them. And I have asked all of them to just really consider engaging you. So please make sure that you ask your questions while they're chatting. I will be checking the chat and, you know, lean into that and ask questions, give examples of your experience in that, so that we can make this as engaging as possible. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Van as our first speaker today. Van, take us away.
Excellent, excellent. Hey, everyone. How you doing? Good to be here. I must admit, when I saw Law's email about the fact that this was going to be about AI, I got really excited. And then I got to see that it was a virtual event, and I got even more excited because I'm no longer in Joburg. And it's really nice to still participate. I'm a big fan of WIT, and it's great to be here. So I just want to chat to you about, or set the scene of what I'm talking about. My day job is actually an online trainer. Okay, by night I'm a superhero, but by day I am an online trainer. So I want to give a very practical, tangible, give you takeaways view of Gen AI and how to use ChatGPT, and just break down a couple of myths that there are around, these tools. So I want to do a quick introduction, seeing that Law forgot to put the slides together, which don't worry, it's the kind of thing that I would normally do. So I've run my own business for 5.5 years now. I train teams all over the world. After this session today, I'm actually jumping onto a session to do some training, AI training with the team in the US, and really, really enjoy what I do. Kind of what I do also has led on to doing a lot of speaking. So I do a lot of keynote speaking. My next trip is next weekend. I'm actually heading off to Bogota in Colombia, and I'm speaking at an HR conference there. So yeah, I've got one more continent to go. Then I've hit the main continents of keynotes. So if you know anyone who runs conferences in Asia, give me a shout. So this is what I mainly talk about, guys. I mainly talk about AI and the recruitment process, but I love this slide because it was made by AI. And if you can pick out the error, you can see that it's not foolproof, is it? Gen AI has its flaws, has its faults. We still need this gray matter between our ears, which is really, really important. So couple of things before we get started I want to put into perspective is that Gen AI is amazing. It's incredible. It can do some really wonderful things. But to be honest with you, it's really just as good as your prompters and as good as your screening skills are. So pretty much in a nutshell, the better prompt that you're going to be putting into Gen AI, the better results you're going to get. You're still going to have to screen, but the time that you spend screening will be a lot less if you are getting better at your prompts. Okay, I'm sure we've all heard this analogy before. And the second myth is that we're not going to be losing our jobs to anything around Gen AI just yet, okay? But we do need to use it to empower us and accelerate us to do better. So when I talk to recruiters all over the world about this, I often talk about use AI to free up your time to be more human. So spend more time with people, get onto calls with them, and get all of your useless admin, your repetitive tasks that can be done by generative AI, get it doing that. And I must admit, as a solopreneur who hates admin, my superpower really is my ADHD. I can't sit and do boring admin tasks for too long. This is where Gen AI has been a complete game changer for me. So I actually want to start by talking about this organization, OpenAI, because when people talk about Gen AI and ChatGPT and all of those things, this is what always comes up. So what I want to do is I want to actually look at OpenAI because they kind of launched onto the platform November 2022, and they made generative AI kind of available to us mere mortals, that we could interact with it. That's when they launched their ChatGPT. Now, alongside that, they actually launched DALL-E, which is an image generator. And I want to just show you a little bit of a journey with DALL-E because it helps us to understand how ChatGPT has actually progressed since the launch of all of these tools that we could now access. So I'm going to take you on a journey, and we're going back to July last year. And this is when, in one of my more mature moments in life, I actually got ChatGPT to rewrite my LinkedIn profile to sound like a pirate. Okay, obviously was thinking this was going to be quite entertaining. I couldn't find a picture on Google by finding pirates sitting around a boardroom table. So I basically went and thought, let me try this DALL-E thing out. I haven't played around yet. Let me go and fiddle. This is what I came up with. I was so excited. I was over the moon. I was like, this is brilliant. I slapped it onto my LinkedIn post. My graphic designers got in touch with me and said, what are you doing? Look at that picture. And I was like, what? AI created it. It's amazing. To cut a long story short, just have a look close up. Look at the face. Look at the hands. Pretty appalling, hey? Okay. So maybe it wasn't as great as I thought. I've then used this as my benchmark, and every quarter I test DALL-E and I give it exactly the same prompt. And I say, give me pirates sitting around a boardroom table in business attire. And it came up with this prompt, right? Now, I didn't write the prompt. No one's got time for prompts that long. It also came up with a prompt, but the images are better, right? The one eye we can see is a bit dodgy, a bit freaky, whatever. But we're getting there. We're improving. Now, at the same time, OpenAI is improving DALL-E, but it's also improving ChatGPT. So we're noticing that our prompts, as our prompts are getting better, the results are getting better. So the next one that I did was in February 2024. And this is my favorite one so far. Look how cool this is. I put in exactly the same prompt. Businessmen sitting around a boardroom table, dressed like pirates. Then I decided that in the next quarter, let me go and see what I can produce in May. And I liked May's picture. It was very creative. But what I figured out now is we can interact with the Gen AI tool. Okay, so I put this in and then it's prompted me and it said, are you happy with what I've produced? And I have long arguments with ChatGPT. And it actually said, no, I actually don't like that funny steering wheel thing behind your head. I don't know what it's called. Please remove it. And it did. There we go. So what you can see is happening now is that the generative AI is getting far more intuitive. We can interact with it better. And the same thing's happening with our prompts. It's just easier to show you in pictures because everyone likes a good picture. And then the latest image, which I literally pulled about a week ago in July, was this one. Same prompt. Pirates sitting around a boardroom table in business attire having a business meeting. And look how much the quality has improved. So that is a year in the journey of DALL-E. But in that year, the same thing has been happening. Yeah, it does look a bit like Prince Harry. He can stay. We like that pirate. He can definitely stay. Let's talk about ChatGPT, because in the background, ChatGPT has also been changing and improving, and there's different versions of it. Now, what we have to understand is when we don't understand something, we need to go and we Google it. Now, OpenAI was the first of the party with ChatGPT. So they literally are the ones at the moment who are trying to claim ChatGPT as their own. It's their buzzword, all of those things. But there are actually different versions of ChatGPT that you can use. And some of them are actually better because they integrate with the Google search. So these are just some of the examples. I'm going to jump to my screen now. I want to do some live demos, which is always, not scary in front of 48 people. You just hope the internet's working. So I'm going to go and do that. And then I'm going to come back to OpenAI because there's a good couple of things there that I want to talk you through. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the different versions and the different ChatGPTs that we can use. Okay. So this is one of my favorites. This is Gemini. This is Google's version of ChatGPT. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to ask it the same question. I'm going to say, how many medals does South Africa have at the Paris Olympics? Now, one thing that you don't have to worry about here is your typing, spelling things wrong. My brain works way faster than my fingers type, so it takes a long time for me to get something perfect. And I can put it into Gemini, which is Google's AI. Another one of my favorites is one called Perplexity. And the reason why I like Perplexity is it already got an integration with the internet, because as we know, as we saw from the graphic, we don't always get the right results from just using ChatGPT. It likes to guess. It's a bit of a people pleaser or prone to hallucinations. I'm sure you've all heard of these terms. It's basically just guessing. So we've got Gemini coming up over here and telling me that we've got 4 medals, which I don't think that's correct. Don't we have one? Is that correct? Tell me in the chat. But what I like about it is it likes that it tells me I can double check the response on Google. Because if I'm using ChatGPT to go and find something out, and then I'm going to do like a LinkedIn post or I'm going to include it in a presentation, I sure as nuts better know that I'm stating a real fact, a stat that isn't something that's been made up by some large language model. So you can see there that it's come up with the results. Perplexity over here is a great one. And it now says we've also got 4 medals at the Paris 2024 Olympics. Gives me all of the links to where it is. And the Mary J. Blige logo over there. I hope you guys have noticed that. It's giving me lots of entertainment. And also we get the results from u.com, which is another ChatGPT, which also quotes its source and where does it get it from. So try those, especially if those of you are only using OpenAI ChatGPT, because the problem with that is that especially times like this, when the US have now logged on and they're all using ChatGPT, it gets very busy and they can restrict your usage on, and they can say, come back in an hour, use this prompt a little bit later, whatever. So what we've got here is we've got the different versions. Now, the best thing, in my opinion, that OpenAI have done is they have made their latest version, which is 4.0, O standing for Omni, okay, ChatGPT 4.0, Omni channel, they have made it free. So I don't know if anyone here pays for their OpenAI account. I personally do. And I will share, I've paid for it for about 18 months because I've been running AI workshops for 18 months now. And I couldn't really be in the middle of a workshop and it tells me, oh, I'm sorry, you've run out of prompts. Off you go, when people have paid good money to listen to my pearls of wisdom. But it's been a bit of a great purchase because I've been like, oh, okay, well, there it is. I mean, it's a whole like 375 Rand that comes off my account every month. It's $20 US. But only recently now do I see the value in it. And that's what I want to chat to you ladies about today is why would you go and pay for this? Because it works pretty well for free, right? So you should be seeing 4.0 and you've got 4.0 mini. And the big difference between the mini is there's no paperclip. If you have a look at the bottom here, this paperclip disappears. And over here, the paperclip is there. So just a very simple way of explaining it, because the mini does very straightforward things. So I can put in a prompt and I could just say, let me do a real recruiter one, create a role, description for a Java developer in, let's say, Cape Town. And there we go. Off it goes. It does it. It's going to make a very generic one. I put in a really generic prompt. I must expect a very generic result. The problem with the way a lot of people use this is that they then copy and paste this, put in a Word document, and then spend like an hour reworking it. Like, don't rework it in Word or Google Docs. Rework it here. Add in information. Say, we would also like, let's say, Kotlin experience, and let's be really ridiculous, and an MBA, because I mean, this is what some clients are looking for, right? And now it's updating it. So if I put in that information up front, I wouldn't have to be regenerating the prompt or anything like that. But what I really like using, and you'll see when I'm using this 4.0, I don't get the kind of irritating prompt of you've run out of prompts, you need to come back, etc., etc. That's the first reason to pay for it, is the fact that I've never been asked to, go away, come back at a later stage. But I'm going to start a new chat over here because I want to show you when you've got the 4.0, how powerful it is and how it can work. And because of the paperclip. So let me show you an example. I want to actually open something over here and I will show you on my screen. I downloaded this Excel spreadsheet from Kaggle. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Kaggle. It's where data scientists like to go and hang out. And you can see it's got a lot of information. Okay. Now, what I can do with this is I can upload any document from my computer. I'm just going to go and let me just go find it. There it is. And I could say, show the results for South Africa in the best way visually. And what it's going to go and do is it's going to go and analyze this document. First of all, what it's probably going to do, because it's been doing this, has told me that because I took it off Kaggle and I then went to the data and I delineated using a comma, it doesn't like my structure. So it goes and it changes the version of Excel. A little bit anal is this whole thing over here. This is why we have our arguments. And it analyzes, and you saw all of the rows of information that is there. And there is the table that it's come up with for the results. So it's already analyzed all of this. And then I could say, put this in a bar graph because now I want to see more visually. Okay. So it's visualizing the aspects for me, genres. It can go on a bit. Got to give it some time to think. There we go. There's my bar graphs of the data that is there. So just a fun way of looking at it. You can upload many different documents. Another thing that I could do is actually, let's go back to, what do I have on my desktop? I can upload the Excel document, and at the same time, I can upload a Word document that I just use for my bio, wherever I'm kind of speaking. There we go. And I can say, rewrite my bio using Netflix titles. So what it does now is it combines the two bits of information. It's looking at, the analyzing the Netflix It's going to tell me that it's going to analyze it. And it says Vanessa Raath is a real stranger. Oh, no, it says Vanessa Raath is a real stranger things phenomenon. I'm a mind hunter in charted territory, etc., etc. So you can have a little bit of fun with this. One of my favorite things that I like that it can do, mainly because my handwriting is pretty appalling, and I do sometimes, you know, dispatch the husband to go to the shops and then he can't read my handwriting, is I've recently figured out that if I upload some of my notes, and this was just a handwritten bits of notes, you can see a real scrawl while I was on a call to a client, I'll just can say, write these out for me. And perfectly, I mean, if I can read that handwriting, it's really good. So there we go. There's my notes. I can choose which ones that I want to have a look at. So it really is the most incredible, easy to use kind of tool, especially when you work as a solopreneur. One of the things that I've been working on is I've been doing a lot of transcribing. So I'm actually in the process of overhauling my whole online academy, which means that I have to download the existing content. So if I go over here and I go to my academy videos and I want to now, I've got all of the videos, say for example, in course 7, what I can do is I can just take a screenshot over here of the courses, because now I've got to kind of get them into some kind of order and I've got to get the transcriptions. I can just copy that. That's just a quick snipping tool. If I pop that in, I could say, write a list of these for me. Okay. So what it's going to do now, it can transcribe from a screenshot. And there we go. That's a copy and paste. Drop it into a Word document. I can now transcribe everything that I've said, because my new academy is going to be built with an AR avatar of me. Believe it or not, I'm building my own digital twin. Brace yourself. There's going to be 2 of us who actually is going to be doing all of the presenting in my online academy. Well, for a lot of the contents, not the intro, those kind of things. So the second reason, and this is kind of like my finishing point, because I know we've got 2 other exciting ladies to hear from, is the second reason why I just want to chat with you about why would you pay for it. So one thing that I would like to say over here is why I would pay for it is for this reason. And I would say create a day's agenda for training on course 7 and 3. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting this instruction into just general chat GPT, okay? And what it's going to try and do is going to be like, we'll try and figure it out. It makes up that 7 as advanced talent sourcing because it's getting an idea of who I am. It thinks it's learning, but really what it's doing is having a brain fart, because it's got no idea. It's got the wrong courses. It's got everything in the wrong order. But if you pay for OpenAI's ChatGPT, what you can do is you can go and create your own GPT. And I'm not going to go into that detail now. I'm going to put a link in the chat to my YouTube video that I presented on it. And literally, I just thought, I'm paying for it. I can create my own GPT. Let me go and figure out how to do it. And I watched so many YouTube videos, and I hate to say it, or so many men like mansplaining how to do it. I thought, this is bullshit. I'm going to make my own YouTube video, and I'm going to put it up there so everyone knows how to make a GPT like really, really quickly. So that's as simple as it is. So I'm going to take the same prompt. I'm going to put the same prompt into my PA now, who I have trained. It's a little bit like having a puppy. And exactly straight away, she knows that my day 3 is all about where's the best tech talent hiding? You know, where do you find tech talent? She knows to put my agenda into a table, which is cool. I get a nice description because I want that in there. She knows to start the training at 9. And there we go. And she's put together another course 7. Because obviously female, because I mean, let's face it, men aren't that efficient. So I have Van's PA. So by doing this, she's already got the context of what I do. I've already fed in all of the documents. It's very easy to edit. I've already fed in all the documents about my training. If you have a look over here where I configure it, I've downloaded information from my website, my LinkedIn profile. It is all there. And literally all it costs is $20 a month. And it is well worth it. So what I quickly want to do is put this on the screen. I will, when I finish presenting and one of the other ladies are presenting, I will put the link to my YouTube video. But if you want to just scan the QR code in the meantime, that is the YouTube video on how to make your GPT. My only disclaimer is you have to pay for OpenAI first. So it's worth it. It really is worth it to get that done. So just in closing, just, there's a lot of ethical implications around this. I don't know if your kids have discovered the use of ChatGPT. I did feel a bit like the kid the other day because I had to submit a blog to a UK publication. It was a big deal. I'd obviously put it off because I have ADHD, because I can't sit and look at a blank screen and start. So what I did was I actually went and sat in the garden. I recorded an 8-minute sound clip, a recording of my voice, because I knew what I wanted to say in the blog. I wrote it as if it was a blog. I then got it transcribed. I ran it through my own GPT and I submitted it, with the full disclosure of, you are going to pick up that this has AI in it because I ran it through my own GPT. However, it's my own ideas, etc., etc. They actually came back to me yesterday and they said, this is brilliant. It's going out in our August edition. So I will never write a blog or an article from scratch again. For me, that's just such an incredible time saver, especially for someone like me who has my own unique, amazing challenges. But the serious side of this is also, my husband's a professor at a local university, and he's seeing a lot of this happening. How are people passing their assignments, their exams? It's becoming a real issue. And to be honest with you, ChatGPT can't really do everything, right? So we've got to think about what role can we play in this whole funny world of Gen AI. And the one thing that I really want you to remember is it's about trust. It's about building strong connections, strong communities, a strong network, being known in your industry. This is literally what is going to get you through in the future, because like I said, I'm doing this at home in my house in Plett. I'm building a whole digital twin. I don't need to go into the studio. I don't need to do anything. But the scary thing is that this is where the deep fakes are coming from. So people need to know you. They need to be able to recognize you and know, what you are doing in the space and what your intentions are. So my challenge to you ladies is, think about, you're never going to know anything about Gen AI. I mean, I go and I speak at these conferences and, generally the other speakers are Gen AI experts. And I always have a laugh because they're normally men and they normally you can't be a Gen AI expert these days because things are changing by the hour. That's absolutely impossible. But whatever it is that you do in your day-to-day work that is causing you frustration, it's giving you friction, it's taking too long, it's monotonous, it's repetitive, that is the thing that you need to find an AI tool to fix. Like me and my blog, I had such a mental block about starting from scratch because I hate typing. But as soon as I figured out that I could record it, I had my blog to these guys in half an hour. So you really need to think about, how do you go about your tasks? So pretty much, I know why you are better than generative AI as a human being, but when it comes to your job, where does the difference come in? What are you bringing to the table that Gen AI is never going to be able to do? I always laugh and joke and say, for me, it's my sparkly personality, but seriously, it is, okay? ChatGPT doesn't have a personality at all. And then finally, guys, it really is up to you. You're in control about how your future will play out. The buzzword in recruitment at the moment is, you don't want to miss out on your next opportunity to someone who knows how to use Gen AI more effectively than you do. So rather, let's get on the bus and let's learn and let's play. You're not going to break the internet because only Rolf breaks the internet. So guys, connect with me on LinkedIn. And here's my contact details. I'm going to be around for the Q&A. I need to drop off quite smartly at 6. But yeah, thanks for the opportunity. It's always a pleasure to present.
Before you move on, there's a question there from Rencha. Do you find that the more interaction you have with GPT on one thread or convo, the more it tends to lose the context of the prompt or offer info? That's it starts to lose the context or start to hallucinate stuff, especially with images.
To be honest with you, Rencha,
I don't know if I need to wait. Sorry, Renske here from Outsurance. Hi guys, thanks. That was amazing. I don't know if I must wait for Q&A. I just dropped it in.
No. perfect
ADHD
time.
just like you. So.
No, perfect time.
Trust the outsurance people to not get it right. No, I'm kidding, Renske. I'll answer that quickly. I'm just kidding. Renske, to be honest with you, I haven't noticed that because I'm very good at starting a new chat, because I found that if I didn't start a new chat, it still had context from a previous conversation. So I always start a new chat, but I'll test that out tomorrow. I'll be interested to see what it does. But I suppose it's a bit like us. I mean, if a conversation goes on too long for me, I get lost. So maybe that's what's happening to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Cool. Absolute pleasure.
Very
Thanks,
cool.
Law. That was great.
No, thank you. Van, before we hand over to Carike, I want to, I mean, right at the beginning, you spoke about, you know, a tool is only as good as you know,
Yeah.
you were a kind way of saying that a fool with a tool is still a fool. You know, I mean, ultimately, all of these maxims apply, you know, cuck data in, cuck data out,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. I mean, I would just, you know, looking at your journey, I would imagine, like most things, it's just best to start small and start simple.
Absolutely. I mean, if we do another virtual one of these, I'm quite happy to do. I have a whole presentation around your prompts and framework and things like that. It's about it becoming habit, because as you saw, the quick prompt that I put in, give me a role description for a Java developer, wasn't enough information.
Yeah.
Like the best thing is like creating a persona. So you tell ChatGPT, like, you are a recruiter with 10 years experience in the tech space, set parameters. I mean, this thing is so verbose. I always say, like, I hope no one's got a friend who speaks like ChatGPT, because it'd be the most boring person in the world. Like, tell it, I want this in 100 words. You know, the more information you can feed it, that's why I like my own GPT, because it sounds like me. And I have to do very little screening and editing on the other side.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Cool.
No
I
worries. Know a couple of people will have questions when we do the panel a bit later, but thank you very much. Next up, I'm going to have Carike. Carike, where are you? There we go. And Carike is going to be giving us a little bit of a helping hand. Thank you.
So, wow, that presentation from Vanessa was definitely something else. But having seen that demo, I'm wondering now, you know, how do I do the same? You know, Vanessa's a successful business owner, and well, on me, you know. And, you know, what if there was maybe like a roadmap that would help me navigate this world? And luckily for us, there is. So don't just AI certify. As Lauren previously mentioned, I'm Carike. I'm from Outsurance. I'm a DevOps engineer there. And if you would like to connect on me either on X or LinkedIn, there's my details. But let's get into it. Why certify? So it's either to solidify the knowledge that you already have, or to get the basics right. Companies normally set up these certification courses because there's certain core details that they would like you to learn. And then you've got the added benefit of it being externally verified by someone else. It's not you saying that you know how to use generative AI. Microsoft or AWS or Google Cloud, you know, external company say you've got these basic skills. Regarding what courses that you would like to use, you know, you can either start with something that you're familiar with, if it's something that you work with daily, or, you know, do something completely different that you normally would not interact with, just to get a different perspective. So let's have a look at a few options. Copilot from Microsoft. So we had in the previous event, we had a whole workshop with them. You can have a look at the Copilot labs for more information. They've got great content there, whether you're a home user, business leader, IT admins. And yeah, like I said, the previous event that we had, you can see the recording on our YouTube channel. We'll send the links through either in the chat after I've spoken, or we'll send it in the email. Lauren, I'll check just a few of that. And then Microsoft Learn content. There's modules and learning paths that are all for free that you can use to upskill yourself in your own time. There's also the option of a virtual training day events. So these are events that Microsoft holds all over the world virtually. And when you attend the generative AI one, you'll see I highlighted there, you get a 50% discount on the Azure AI Fundamental certification. What makes this great, having the Microsoft certifications, is that the fundamentals one never expires. So you've got that certification for life. And the AI fundamentals does also, branch out more to your machine learning, your creating your own pilots with Microsoft Virtual Agents. But yeah, a very nice certification to have. So yeah, if you're interested in or you work in the Microsoft space, this is definitely one I would recommend for. Going on to AWS, they've created what they call Cloud Quests, which is a role-based learning game, which gamifies, your learning content with different stages to learn different parts of generative AI, which is also, very interesting way of learning, if that maybe appeals more to you. Complete the quest to learn new skills. Unfortunately, this one is a paid subscription that you need to do, $29 per month. But again, if you work in AWS, this might definitely be up your alley. Since AI also, or generative AI is also so new, even the cloud companies are playing catch up. And AWS's certification is now in beta starting 13 August. So you can register in the meantime. They have released the learning content for this. So you can, if you go to that URL, you can register so long and start learning. And then once it goes live, it's either free or at a reduced rate, you can do the certification. So be on the lookout for that one. Google Cloud has also got their introduction to generative AI. These are also a free course, which is great for anyone that's interested to go more on that route. There's video modules, I think 4 or 5 of them. They're between 30 minutes and 2 hours. And then also some labs that you can do. These are a bit trickier and take longer to do. But again, getting to know how these things work, in particular, like Jupyter Notebooks, how that works is also a very good way to start, to see how these things work and whether it's maybe something that you would like to delve in deeper. And there's also great focus on responsible AI, which is very important, to know, the impact of, the content that we generate. And this is particular one that I really enjoyed doing, is the Generative AI Overview for Project Managers from the PMI Institute. So for those that do a lot of project management, is possibly familiar with the Institute, if you're already a member, you can also get additional credits for it. And basically, anyone, regardless of whether you've got a project manager in your job description, it is something, that we all do at some stage, in our day-to-day job. So, I would definitely recommend this, as this gave a very, a very good practical, use case for how to use generative AI in your day-to-day job. Where the others are very much, depending on the cloud you use. This one has got a very broad appeal and takes about 3 hours to complete, which is, definitely recommend that one for everyone. When you complete it, you get a nice badge from Carike and something, that you can always share with your friends on LinkedIn or on a CV or on in your email, not footer, but your email signature. Definitely worth your time. And then, for any developers that might be there, GitHub Copilot, one is also now in beta. This one I wouldn't recommend for everybody if you're not specifically a developer. However, if you're curious about it, if you do register now for it, you can do it for free. That's $100 saving. So if you're curious, why not give it a try? That's available until 9 August. If you want to see how the GitHub Copilot works, that resources.github.com/Copilot demo gives you an in-browser view of how to test it out. And then, yeah, the biggest thing is which Gen AI journey will you take? As Vanessa pointed out with DALL-E, I generated this image using, that prompt at the bottom to say that, we've got all these various certifications, how the image looks like that. And it seemed to have hallucinated quite a bit with the options. But yeah, if you're interested in getting a certification, please let us know in the chat which one you would be interested in. And also, if you do get that certification, please post on LinkedIn or in the LinkedIn group for the WIT Network SA, and let's celebrate together with you.
Thanks, Carike. It's very exciting. Lots of links there. So I'll get this deck from you and share that. But yeah, I mean, there were a lot of just out of interest to the ladies on the call. Has anyone on listening today done any of the courses that Carike shared? Any feedback that they can give and any experience? Anyone tried? I know there are a couple of the technical ladies on here, so I'd be interested to know who of you have delved into the more technical side of upskilling. Not yet. What does Dillian say? Not yet. Awesome.
I must say the PMI one from the Project Management Institute, as a developer, I must say I've learned so much because, software development is very much project-based in certain instances. And yeah, even almost want to say as not a daily skill of mine, but a fringe one, really, useful one that I really enjoyed.
Awesome. I have shared that I did go and find that one. It seemed, so what the question that I have is, obviously for those of us that are perhaps furthest away from the direct technical oriented roles, it sounds to me, Carike's like that PMI one would be the best way to start.
Definitely, but any of the cloud ones are also, very useful. AWS ones is very new, so I can't really comment too much on those. But with regards to the Azure one and the Google one, both, like I say, really enjoyed. Lab's a bit, how can I say, tricky initially just to get that set up, but it's because I'm more familiar with the Azure cloud. So, but yeah, again, there is help with it. It does guide you nicely through it. So, you're not completely on your own. It gives you that guided, step by step of this is why we do this stuff and this is how to do it correctly.
Yes. Just a quick show of hands. No, you don't need to write your name in blood. But based off Carike's points today, who feels equipped to do something? So our next WIT event will probably be like late October, November. So roughly 2 or 3 months' time. Who feels at that time they will have done? Dipolelo, good job. Great. Dawn, awesome. So this is something, as Carike said, share it with us because I am not an early adopter. I'm very seldom the first one to do anything, but I absolutely love getting the feedback and then understanding how I fit in and and then go. But I'd love to hear people's journey. So if you are interested in this and you want to do it, please let us know because it will be really great to see, how people upskill with what's been shared.
And also, this is not an exhaustive list. There are other options. I looked specifically, for people, beginning and wanting to know like that first step. But if you find nice intermediate or next level courses, please share with us.
Absolutely. Okay, so in 3 months' time, we're going to hear from a few people who've managed to complete one of these pathways and tell us where that takes you. Thanks, Carike. Very, very informative, and I'll definitely we'll share your deck so that people can get the links and then continue with their upskilling. Awesome. Okay, and Well done, Della. Della has just put a comment there. Non-technical and completed the SC 900 security Azure training. Good luck for the exam. We have great faith in you. Very, very cool. Okay, and last but not least is Anke. As I introduced earlier, Anke is Mint Group's in-house legal counsel, and she has committed this year to upskilling on understanding the impact of Gen AI in the business environment. I think maybe quite a bit out of your comfort zone, if I'm not mistaken, Anke. And yeah, I think today we all look forward to hearing this component, because there's a lot of excitement and there's a lot of potential and possibility with Gen AI. And, you know, as per almost all human behaviors, it's only after the fact that we stop and think about the consequences.
Absolutely.
So there we go. Anke, I'm handing over to you.
Thanks so much. Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks so much for taking the time to tune in to the presentation. I don't know about you, but I was absolutely blown away by the presentations of the two ladies before me. Certainly lots of learnings and always a new perspective on things. I might just try my hand on with one of those courses, Lauren, but not committing to it yet. I don't want any liability. Yes, so before I get started, I would just like to ask each of you to share images in the Teams chat of what comes to mind when you think about the term law. So there's absolutely no right or wrong answer, no judgments, no pun intended. I'll give you a few minutes just to share the images. I'd be interested in getting each one of you's perspective on it. Yes, definitely. The legal scale is one of the items that comes to mind. Objection, love it. Yes, yes. Where would we be without the legal gavel? Yes. Unfortunately, we don't really have that in South Africa. That would be a very nice incentive to become a judge. The look of horror, yes. Not familiar with Judge Joe, but I do know about Judge Judy. There's always lots of legal reality shows. Love it. I'm surprised I haven't seen a meme from Suits yet, but I'm guessing it's going to come sooner rather than later. Thanks so much, everybody. You're welcome to keep on sharing the images, but I always find it helpful to, yes, Legally Blonde, one of my favorites, Lauren, love it. So starting with the presentation now that you've all shared some of your images, I want to share an image of my own. So if you look at the screen, you'll notice this very colorful puzzle picture. So I'm sure a lot of you on the call have some experience building puzzles, maybe with your kids or with your grandkids, and some of you might even have framed some of them. Now, I want you to think of the law as this legal frame, our own unique landscape puzzle portrait that is comprised of our own individual and collective passions and interests and personal and professional goals. Now, in the legal industry, we are problem solvers. We are constantly trying to solve puzzles. And in today's landscape, generative AI is definitely one of those puzzle pieces that we're trying to slot into our existing picture. So what happens to the existing legal framework and the overall picture when it gets introduced to an unexpected new puzzle piece, a puzzling element, if you pardon the fun, that wasn't there before? So the unexpected element in this case being Gen AI. So you might be thinking, if the puzzle's already full, the legal frame will simply not be able to bend and adjust and accommodate it enough to add this new puzzle piece to our framed landscape. This is one of the questions that we'll be exploring in this presentation. So I put it to you that emerging technologies such as generative AI are frequently changing the landscape in which we interact. I will discuss how we can adapt and adjust to accept this new development as part of our legal frame in the puzzle of life. So let's start puzzling. So at the beginning of the presentation, I asked you to provide me a picture of how you see the law. So this is an image that I want to share to illustrate the constant battle of balances that we have when it comes to regulations such as generative AI. So on the left, you will notice just a few of the challenges we have when it comes to Gen AI, the GPT or not to GPT, algorithmic bias, the pacing problem, something fishy, intellectual property, and maintaining authenticity and originality. And then on the right-hand side, you will notice legislation and policies that seems to be by far outweighed. So what I particularly like about the picture is the human hand that is the potential stabilizing element in this picture. So instead of discussing each of these challenges in detail, and these are just a snapshot of the potential challenges we have with Gen AI, I've decided to share potential approaches to address and adapt to the challenges that Gen AI brings to our landscape. So the essence of my presentation for today can be summarized with the following heading, namely, to make AI your co-pilot, not your autopilot. Very important to me. So all of us on this call, we are constantly juggling and balancing multiple items at any given time. We all want that work-life balance. We want to excel on multiple platforms, be fully present, be engaged, whether it's personally and professionally. As women, we are the queen of multitasking, but sometimes time is just not on our side. So, in saying this, our reliance upon AI should never become an autopilot feature to try and achieve this work-life balance. Whenever we choose to use Gen AI, it remains our responsibility to verify the inputs that it generates and to wisely supplement it to complement our day-to-day. Now, the question is, how do we go about in doing this? On the screen, I will share some pro bono tips to bear in mind when using Gen AI. The first of them being to remember the quality of outputs very much depends on the inputs. So it's important to remember that Gen AI is deeply reliant on the data that shapes it. So if the input data is biased, incomplete, incorrect, then likewise your Gen AI outputs will also be skewed, unreliable, and even harmful. So for this reason, data training is very essential and verification from our side, the human element, is so important. Secondly, authenticity and originality when we choose to use Gen AI. There is an increased risk that the outputs from Gen AI might mirror existing works. This raises various concerns about the authenticity of works in various fields, especially education. I remember from Vanessa the picture there in terms of education, and I remember her husband seeing that her husband is also in the education field and the reality they have to deal with in verifying the quality of works. So my view is that if you do decide to use generative AI, you should to only use it as a supplementary resource, to do your independent checks, and to be very transparent to your customers or your audience by stating that you have in fact used it. So if I can use the example of the blog that Vanessa mentioned to be upfront about it and say, listen, I did use the platform, and this will go a long way to help to establish trust, a proactive working relationship, and respect. Thirdly, user education, usability, to know what you don't know. That is incredibly important. So it's my view that user education is paramount when it comes to using sophisticated tools like AI. Good measures would be to ensure education would be live demos of questions and answers, recordings, updated training materials. Carike presented us with various options for training and accreditation. This will not only go a long way in ensuring user adoption, but more responsible user adoption as well. Fourthly, to remember that public perceptions isn't reality. To verify before you post or reshare news. With all the Gen AI features, it is becoming increasingly hard to distinguish fact from fiction, deep fakes, and the like. So think about it this way. While the false news or information that you accidentally shared might not be real, the potential consequences and reputational damage that it can cause is very, very real indeed. And tip number 5, when in doubt, opt out. So remember that if you use the open platform, your work becomes part of the public realm. So this can have very serious consequences if you use the platform with confidential information. So when in doubt, reach out to your compliance officer, or if it's just for more personal reasons, your more tech-savvy friends. I'm sure we've all discovered a few tech-savvy colleagues on this call. Vanessa and Carike might be your next port of call when you're in doubt. So now that I've hopefully scared some of you a little bit, I wouldn't be doing my job otherwise. I want to turn to 4 critical questions that I ask myself when we have to think of a legal approach in terms of doing things, in terms of addressing the puzzles that is Gen AI. The first being, what do we have now? So from my legal day-to-day, I have to look at the current state of regulations and the laws that we have in place. So at the rapid speed that innovations like AI has, the chances are that the current regulations that your company might be outdated. As an in-house of an IT company, first and foremost, I always need to consider whether the policies we might have in place might be blocking innovation. Secondly, to think about when do we regulate? While the general consensus is that the legal framework is very slow to adapt to developments like Gen AI, it's also important to avoid implementing legislation or policies too early. Thirdly, how do we regulate? There are several considerations here. There's always that constant battle between balancing innovation and competition and protecting the interests of the company. So my view is that if innovation of the company is a foremost consideration, then as the minimum or light policies can be implemented. But if the innovation has very big risks, then there needs to be strong precautionary policies and measures in place. So as you can see, there's a very fine balancing act for us as legal eagles as part of a company. And then lastly, what has changed since the regulation or policy has been implemented? As I mentioned, the speed at which technology adapts is so difficult, but I find that there needs to be at least an annual review process in place to make sure that regulations are adapted to keep pace with the innovations. So now that we've looked at 4 critical questions that I use to assist me in my day-to-day with puzzle pieces like Gen AI, in my opinion, we need to consider 5 principles in terms of how we apply it as part of our landscape. And the first principle would be to adapt. The challenges that we face is simply that we do not know how the company we work in and the industries we are all working in will react to company rules and policies regarding innovations like Gen AI. So in practice, it happens far too often that once a regulation or policy is implemented, it goes unchanged for long periods of time, which creates additional challenges of its own. So my view is that instead of spending months formulating regulations, then waiting for feedback, we should strive to get more rapid feedback and revision. And we can do this by implementing soft legislation. So what is soft legislation, you might ask? So soft law would be informal guidelines, best practices, codes of conduct, first-party accreditation and certification. So a good example of this would be to encourage your stakeholders to take accredited courses in Gen AI and to incentivize responsible user adoption by making it part of KPIs or giving vouchers for completing courses. But this would allow companies to adapt faster to changes and to address the challenges of Gen AI, all without stifling innovation. I submit that by doing this, there will be better engagement between the company and its role players, and the role players who've completed the courses, and through the insights and experience gained, they can contribute to addressing the concerns from the compliance departments and help to develop standards and codes of conduct which the company can effectively implement. The second principle would be to prototype and test. This would entail that the compliance and legal department would partner with the innovators that championed the Gen AI by experimenting with the new technology in a controlled environment. So a good example of this would be to create company master training data that is limited to verified and accredited sources. As an example, an HR chatbot whose training data is limited to company policies only and can answer frequently asked questions on company policies and has a feedback loop that loops back to the head of HR. This would go a long way in answering repetitive questions and it give the HR the gift of time, as I like to call it. So a third principle would be referred to being outcome-based. So all too often regulations are outcome-based. I submit that it would be better if we focus on being more input-focused. This would help achieving innovation as well. What I mean by this is by instead of focusing on how we want to achieve it, we focus on what we want to achieve and then building legal metrics around it. So my view is that by doing this, legal compliance can still be achieved whilst enabling companies to maintain their edge while innovating with Gen AI. Fourthly, the principle of being risk-weighted. So it's important to remember that each innovation has its own unique merits. And as far as this goes, one size does not fit all. What I mean by this is not all of the AI innovations, exciting as it may be, will be a good fit for your company. So be very strategic in what you choose to implement. And then principle number 5, being collaborative. We need to address inconsistent or vague regulations and collaborate to supplement our policies with internationally accepted industry-approved guidelines to ensure that there's efficiency as well as data protection where needs be. For instance, when it comes to the GDPR. So in essence, it's my view that by following these principles, namely by adapting, by prototyping and testing, by being outcome-based, risk-weighted in our approach and collaborative, we will be in a better position to adapt to emerging technologies such as Gen AI while still being able to innovate. And in summary, I want you to reframe how you think about the law and Gen AI. And think of the legal industry as a framework to a puzzle and Gen AI as one of the new puzzle pieces that now form part of the picture. I will now share a video of each of you that illustrates how I think we need to react and adapt to AI as part of our lives. But please let me know what your thoughts are in the chat. I'd love to hear it. I don't know about you, but I found it to be a very insightful video, and I think it's definitely a new perspective in terms of how we can approach life in general as well. So please let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear it.
Thanks, Anke. That was amazing.
Thanks. Yes, yes. So I really find it insightful. I think it's definitely a new way we need to think about approaching our day to day. Like the speakers illustrated, there's so many challenges and excitement when it comes to AI. Some of the challenges may be yet still to come. So by adapting and trying to be flexible, I think we'll definitely be in a better position from a legal point of view to address the challenges that innovation brings.
I think you need to rebrand the legal profession, because there's a lot of legal kind of thinking that's a bit more fixed mindset. So you might have your work cut out for you. Just from my side, Anke, one of the things that you touched on, which just in terms of keeping companies updated and being responsive rather than waiting and making one big change and waiting, etc. And you touched on having working with ambassadors or champions within the organization. How do you see that rolling out in terms of keeping the organization informed and aware of the legislative implications around changing business parameters?
So speaking very practically as an in-house legal for an IT company, I definitely know what I don't know. So I know that I need to be more focused in terms of the technical aspects. So I would work very closely with mentees that are very proficient in terms of, and have strong technical backgrounds when it comes to generative AI, and definitely encourage parties to enroll in some of the courses that were presented. I know there's a lot of there's some Microsoft courses out there as well, and to liaise with. I see Dipolelo put her hand up. So, for instance, I would reach out to her once she's completed the course. No pressure. And get her insights from her point of view in terms of how we can balance the legal and the technical aspects, the problem areas there. Because I think all too often, from a legal point of view, we often have a bird's eye view of things. And we need to sometimes be closer to the picture, to be to have that additional perspective, to be able to draft efficient clauses that address the concerns.
Awesome.
Because if we don't know what we don't know, we won't be able to draft the appropriate measures, if that makes sense.
100%. Thank you. I'm going to ask Van and Carike to pop their cameras on, and there are a couple of questions just to the three of you that people have popped in the chat. So the first one there from Barushka: how would you quantify the business benefit of implementing AI tools in the work environment? Van, let's start with you, because you deliver the training and you're the one that organizations are paying, and kind of the money being spent is on knowledge transfer. So let's start with you in terms of what is the benefit of implementing AI tools, and how do you justify this cost?
So for me, it's the taking away the boring. So we all have boring parts of our jobs, right? So it's as I said, it's the repetitive task, it's the admin. Like, I didn't sign up to become a recruiter. Like, you didn't sign up, Law, to become the chief people officer to do admin, right? I mean, how much time do you spend writing reviews and, all of those things? If we could still add our human touch to it, but we didn't spend so much time doing admin. So for me to quantify it would be, I could save X amount of time a week because the task is doing this for me. So myself as an example, We moved down to Plett last year, November. I didn't have my own GPT then, and I discovered through January, February, and March that, phew, okay, it's nice, and we get to go to the beach on either side of working. But as winter started creeping in and it started getting darker, I was like, I need to do something because I've moved down here to have a better quality of life. I want to spend more time on the beach. And what I've discovered since building my own GPT, I've actually bought myself about 2 to 3 hours a day of extra time, because a lot of the admin and sending out proposals and bearing in mind I cost my eye over everything, I spend more time being outdoors. So the business impact for me has been, I'm spending more time outdoors. I'm walking for an hour every day. And the result of that has actually got me thinking in a different way. And I'm far more creative with my time because I've got the admin taken care of. I'm not bogged down by admin. And now I'm doing so much more with my business because I have more time just to be and think. And
so, I mean, you've basically summed it up beautifully there, because one of the things trying to build out a business case, and I think very often, when we are thinking about business cases in organizations, we are talking about it in the black and white language of numbers, which is one component of a business case. And what you've described is the quantifiable aspect of time. So here is my time that is no longer being used and allocated to repetitive admin tasks. This is that same time is now enhancing my course content, which is making it more popular and therefore more profitable.
Absolutely.
So, I think it's being
100%.
Illustrative with that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Sorry, Lauren, if I could maybe just jump in there. I think the big thing is also, it's difficult to quantify because it's still so new. But it's also for the same reason, should a business have a website, an online presence? Now, if you say that, it sounds like such a stupid comment to say. Of course, everybody needs a website, but a lot of companies run it without having a website, if you think about small business owners. So can you do without it? Yes. Should you? And almost to that extent, as Vanessa said, I mean, there is a lot of benefit to be gained, and maybe all not yet quantifiable, actually.
Yes.
But it will become, almost want to say, I don't want to say second nature, but, it will be such an obvious thing that we would have to do.
Yes.
You couldn't almost not work without it.
And that leads to Barushka's second question, which is, what are the advancements in AI that you're most excited about? So possibly as the most technical person of the panel, Carike, that's very much aimed at you, because this is exactly it. When businesses make decisions, they've got 20 things to think about and take into consideration. It's not, they can't just, yes, here's a car. They've got to think about
everyone
these things.
gets a car.
Everyone. When you as the technical person are now presenting this business case around implementing or rolling out Gen AI in the workplace for these reasons, ABC. The other component to this is, by the time we've pressed publish and go live, there's version 6, 7, 8 is already out, So at what point, or, when is too much information to get it going? We can't wait for perfection. We can't wait for the next best version is coming out. Let's only roll it out then. How do we get going, knowing that once we start this journey, you're in for the long run, because it is going to evolve?
Yeah, so I must say, I think being South African, cost is always a massive problem. But the thing is where your time is spent. As Vanessa also said, more time at the beach for her, like she's winning 3 hours a day. We pay people so much to do admin, and in personal cases, I feel as a developer, generating documentation that no one reads. I think about unit tests and release notes. I mean, you have got apps on your phone that gets updated. Do you ever take the time to really read through those release notes, or do you just say,
is that what they are?
The latest stuff?
Definitely not going to read them. Definitely not.
But someone is spending time writing them. Somebody is paid currently by the company to create that content.
Yeah.
And should we be doing that? You know, and I almost want to say, I think, you know, with information being so cheap and so available to everybody, I mean, anybody can create their own chatbots. Should we be generating that much content, or should our focus be placed elsewhere? And I think that is where businesses will get more value. And, you know, you might not directly say, oh, it's because of AI, but it will, you know, filter down to say that people can spend their time, you know, that human factor, thinking of new opportunities to add value to their customers.
Yes, it's a great perspective and great way of looking at it. Anke, from your side, Sue is head of brand marketing, obviously deals a lot with reputation. And I think organizational or company reputation is core. Everybody knows it takes years to build a reputation and seconds to destroy it. And her question there, how can we distinguish between AI-generated content and genuine human thought leadership? But, you know, if we just take that one step further in terms of what is being published in a company's capacity with perhaps limited influence or control, because people are blogging in their personal capacity and they Facebooking and updating and that type of thing, and reputation now is impacted or could potentially be impacted.
So if I can use you as a practical example, Laura, if you don't mind. I remember
don't.
that
As long as my reputation remains intact.
Very much so, very much so. So I remember you did a blog a while back, the distinction between writing a mission statement, your inputs versus an AI platform's generated inputs, and then asking the audience to distinguish. So by doing it, you made it very clear that you did actually use the platform as part of your blog. So my view is I think everybody these days, well, not everybody, but a lot of people use platforms like Copilot for doing those mundane tasks, like providing standardized replies to emails and just generally making the admin a little bit easier. I think a lot of people are aware of it, but when you're writing something like a blog, to be upfront about it, I don't think people will object to it, because there's upfront transparency involved in doing it. But I think the risk is a lot greater by not being upfront about it. That's where the liability comes in.
Absolutely, yeah. Definitely. My last question to all of you, and I absolutely am opening it up to the floor after this, if anyone does have any questions for our three ladies, or just general comments. So much has changed so fast. We say this a lot, and certainly we feel the impact, but so much changes so fast, and in technology there's new stuff all of the time. One of the questions did touch on it briefly, but if you think, as I mentioned earlier, you know, March last year, ChatGPT came out and wowed us all, and look where we are today. You know, we're less than 5 months away from 2025. It's crazy to think that 2025 we're going into the year 2025. It's just so crazy to think that. But at the pace that we're moving with regards to technology and what's happening, in a year, in 3 years, where do you see us? What will we be talking about? What will WIT be talking about? Van, let's start with you.
Sure, it's a very good question, Laura. It definitely makes you think. So I don't think we're going to be sitting around talking about generative AI, because it's just going to be a thing. It's like we don't talk about the internet anymore, do we? You know, it's just going to become so ingrained in every part of our lives and what we do. There was another kind of question there around the laws, you know, around it from a legal perspective, and what we're seeing. And I actually hosted a webinar about this in the UK towards the end of last week, is that the EU's now come out with their AI law. New York is the only state at the moment who's being really strict around this. And we're just waiting for the first big court case of a big company that we need to make an example of. So it's going to be one of the big ones, and it's going to be expensive. And I think that's going to determine a lot of the future and the way people use AI. But AI in itself is not going to become a thing. So it's not going to be spoken about, not going to be a thing. I think it's going to come down to a lot more. Sorry, my cat wants to now get involved. Is a lot more of the communities, the networks, the people who have brands. That's going to be way more highlighted than what it is at the moment. Something that we've all kind of just taken for granted, really.
Yes. Carike, from your side, what do you think? What are we going to be talking about in a year?
Almost like Vanessa again said, the big thing is, information becoming so cheap. I mean, like normally you would have to go get a degree, go to a tertiary, do very formal training. Now, if you wondered about something, you ask ChatGPT and you will get a very good idea of what it, I wouldn't say you would become an expert, but I mean, with information being that cheap, how do you add value? What prevents a person? I mean, like if we look at 3D printers, a lot of people bought 3D printers and make a lot of things themselves. They don't no longer go out and purchase it. Yes, not everybody owns a 3D printer, but with information being that cheap, how much will we rely on companies to do certain things? And those type of companies will have to go a regeneration of some sort and almost want to say, get a different way to add value. I mean, if you look at the media houses with Media 24 that's closing down some of their offices, I mean, those newspapers have been there for years. That was how we got our information. I don't know, when last for a headline, I went to Street Corner to buy a newspaper. It's just the way our, lives are changing. Like having cell phones with us, like everything is in your pocket now. So, I think it will be a very interesting time for businesses on how to monetize these type of services if information becomes that cheap.
Yes, 100%. Anke, from your side, from the
I just want to comment quickly, sorry, Lord, to interrupt, on what Carike said, is that, and I'll be completely honest with everyone here, is that I'm almost feel like I'm almost reinventing myself now by sharing that knowledge. So I have a lot of knowledge because I love learning. I'm always teaching myself something new. I'm always doing an online course. Point in case is that own GPT. I watched a whole lot of videos that were really overcomplicated, didn't need to be. Let me make my own. Pretty much has gone viral, and now I'm getting a lot of work off the back of that, or delivering the training. We need to think how we're going to future-proof ourselves, and if we are working for ourselves, or maybe one day it's our dream to be a freelancer or a solopreneur, whatever it is, find the gap. And the gap for me is being the person who shares that knowledge, because there's a lot of knowledge out there, but a lot of people are very lazy to go and access that knowledge. So if you can take that knowledge, make it into bite-sized, entertaining, deliverable chunks, it's something to think about.
Very cool. I love that. Anke, from your side, from the legal side, what do you think you're going to be doing in a year?
I think a lot of perception out there is, and a lot of concerns are that AI is going to take away jobs. But I would like to, my view is that it might actually just re-enhance your day to day, make your life easier, help you with those mundane admin tasks, reinvent the workforce, so to speak, and the way of work. And just when I think about our younger generation, I mean, they have so much more access to technology than we ever did, and I think they will be the champions of it, because it's just so easy and accessible to them. It's their reality. So there's definitely going to be a lot of transformation. But it doesn't. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it can give us more time. I like the example that Vanessa used in terms of the 2 to 3 hours that she wouldn't have had otherwise. Yes. So there's a lot of exciting things, definitely. But it's but it's difficult to provide a precise answer. I know it's a
I wouldn't
legal thing to
expect that
say.
from a lawyer.
Exactly. It's always it depends. Simply
No,
because
brilliant. And
the fabric of Gen AI is so unpredictable. There's so
Yes.
many possibilities.
And I think that's maybe the essence of it is,
Mm.
you know, those of you that were brownies or Girl Guides, you know, always be prepared. And this speaks to it is there are so many possibilities. And just incidentally, I see Rensha made a comment there just around the future of education and how quick, you know, just in technology, doing a 4-year IT degree, which was the norm, and many of you on this call probably did cut your teeth becoming developers in that route, and now you can do a lot of that information through online courses and in practical labs and that, because that information changes and updates so quickly, and so it's just that being adaptive. There's another comment. AI won't replace people, but it will replace the people that don't know how to use AI. And Sue, we live in hope. We live in hope. Laundry and dishes. Okay. But ladies,
it's a mundane task.
The mundane, yes. To our 3 speakers, Van, Carike, Anke, thank you very much. So insightful, generating wonderful conversation and thought. And to everybody who joined us today and those of you that are going to watch the recording, thank you very much. Really, really insightful. If you do come across great courses, please share that with us. Share the links, drop them. Carike did post the link to our WIT group on LinkedIn, and tomorrow I will send out the recording link to everybody who joined and registered so that you can catch up. But just very big thank you to everyone, and thank you to sharing with us, sharing your knowledge. It's really, really helpful. Ladies, thank you so much for joining this evening.
Thanks for the opportunity, Lauren.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a great
Thank you.
evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Cheers. Thank you.